Wow. Wow. Yep, that's pretty much all. Let's react to round number one. Here we go. All right, guys, draft day round one is officially in the books. You can see what the teams are focusing on now. And I have to credit the Philadelphia Eagles for absolutely changing how the draft would play out. I was 6 out of 10 through the first top 10, and then it all went to crap after that, which doesn't surprise me, but there were a few shockers, and we'll get the big one out of the way. Shedeur Sanders not getting drafted in the first round means very simply one thing to me. They weren't lying. It wasn't teams trying to blow smoke to get a cool off on Sanders. They simply were not lying. They didn't like how he interviewed. They saw issues with how he threw. There was no lying in leading up to the draft. So that's what it tells me. The primary thing is, evidently, everything that they were saying, most all teams believe. That's what we can glean from that. Now, how the rest of the first round went, I mean, good grief. So, we're going to just simply run down the list. We got 32 players to get in 25 minutes. So, I am not going to do a lot of analysis on some players. Primarily, number one, Cam Ward. We knew he was going to be number one. He's been number one for a long time. Moving on. Travis Hunter. Jacksonville traded, in my opinion, if you've watched the movie Draft Day, this really reminded me of a trade that would have been made there. So, when you trade up, so the Jacksonville Jaguars get a second round pick, a fourth round pick, and a sixth round pick, okay? They gave up a first round pick, number 5, their second round pick, number 36, a fourth, and a future first, a first round next year. For 3 spots. 3. And I will argue Mason Graham would have been a better fit for right now over what Travis Hunter is. But Jacksonville makes this trade, this rookie GM who is from the Sean McVay, less Snead, screw the picks mentality. But that's because the Rams were winning. They didn't need a first round pick. Jacksonville hasn't won consistently for quite a long time. They kind of need those picks, especially with this new rookie coach. You're going to have to be able to build for a little while. That will be vitally important. So, the Travis Hunter pick, I'm not upset about the pick. But what you gave up was way too much. Giants take Abdul Carter at 3. No extra analysis needed. Best player on the board. Fills the other end need next to opposite of Brian Burns. The defense has been solid. They just got to get the offense straightened out, and that could be a 7-8 win team. New England Patriots then take Will Campbell. Mike Vrabel gets his big guy that he wants on that offensive line. I did say in the mock draft that if the top three went like that and Shedeur was sitting there, that they would take Will Campbell. It's a no-brainer pick. No-brainer. That offensive line now for Drake May is top 18. It's decent, good enough, and they still have spots they can strengthen throughout the draft. At number 5, Mason Graham. You put Mason Graham next to Myles Garrett for the Cleveland Browns. There's nothing else I can say about it. Best defensive tackle. They think his ceiling is lower, but if his ceiling is what he's shown at Michigan, he's pretty dang good. And Myles Garrett will be happy to have a guy like that next to him. So I love Mason Graham to the Browns, especially with what they got. They now have 2 potential top 10 picks in 2026. Good for Cleveland. The Raiders called this one, said they were going to do it. Ashton Jeanty. They needed a running back. They needed a playmaker. They now have Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty to go along with Geno Smith and Chip Kelly on the offensive side of the ball. It made sense. There are people that were criticizing because of size and this and that. Shut up. Just let them go play. Just let them go play. It's because they're the Raiders that everybody's like, yeah, but I'm sure they could do better. Really? They have no running game. Arguably a bottom 3 running back room in the NFL. Ashton Jeanty helps. And they're still probably going to get another one in the 4th or 5th round. At 7, Armand Membu. Perfect pick for the New York Jets. I will never, ever criticize somebody for taking an offensive lineman when you haven't been able to protect the quarterback for consecutive years with a consistency that is not good. Armand Membu, offensive tackle. Fashanu looks like he's going to work. Membu now covers the other tackle. I love this pick for them. Makes sense. Give Justin Fields the best chance to succeed. The problem is he had a defensive coach in Chicago. Defense with no offensive heartbeat whatsoever in Pittsburgh. Basically offensively tone deaf. And with the Jets, we'll find out what happens with Aaron Glenn. We will find out how this works out. But I like this pick. Nailed number 8, Tet McMillan. The Panthers needed a number 1 receiver to go with Xavier. Xavier's more of a 2, but he can be a really good second option. He can be a really good wide receiver too. Tet will take over number 1. I like this pick for Carolina. It's a pick of need. They need skill guys. They have to surround Bryce Young so they can judge the best if he is the future for the franchise. At 9, called this one, Ryan Ramczyk retires. They draft Kelvin Banks Jr. to the New Orleans Saints. This was a no-brainer. Easy pick, especially with Membu already off the board. Easy pick. Veteran guy, played a lot of years at Texas. I love this pick, honestly. Now, the first surprise, Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren. And I started thinking about this after I did the short last night and the reaction. This actually makes sense. Cole Kmet will be the blocking tight end. Colston Loveland is more of a Travis Kelce type tight end. I did not say he is Travis Kelce. But he is a lot more of the taller, leaner tight end over Warren. You already have Cole Kmet to be the blocking tight end. You have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, and now Colston Loveland. They will draft another running back to go beside DeAndre Swift. This actually makes a lot of sense, and Colston Loveland will be a high pick. I will have a fantasy pick episode after everything settles down. I will have a fantasy outlook episode as well, and I will be extending that to you guys for who wants to come in and play fantasy football, and I'll go through all the different leagues that I have running this year. Then we have the 49ers. They wanted Mykel Williams. They thought he was going to come off the board early. They tried to trade up. Didn't happen. They love Mykel Williams. They need a rush. How many times have we said it? With Bosa out, they have nothing. Mykel Williams hopefully gives them a pass rush. With all the injuries that have happened on that defense, look for them to still add some more defense later on in the draft. And we'll talk about a sleeper pick for them here at the end of the episode. Tyler Booker gets drafted by the Cowboys. Zach Martin retires. This pick actually, I think, is a complete hit out of the park. I mean, this is a home run pick. Booker, I believe, can be a dominant guard for the Cowboys. Big, strong, loves football. I mean, did you see him after he got drafted? He loves football. I think he works with Dallas. When you're an offensive lineman, you don't get judged by wins or losses. That is not how you get judged. Tyler Booker is a fantastic pick for the Cowboys, who need offensive line help. They need to protect Dak because he's now coming off his second injury. He's going to be even less mobile than before. This was a perfect pick. At number 13, ginormous head scratcher. The Dolphins draft Kenneth Grant. They couldn't give away Jalen Ramsey. Tyreek Hill, I believe, is out of the building. I believe both of those players will be out of the building. Kenneth Grant makes absolutely no sense. I know they need defense. This draft is deep with defense. You don't have an offensive line. And you had multiple people here that you could have used. Tyler Warren was still on the board. Yeah, I know you've got Jonnu Smith, but Tyler Warren is sitting there. You could have traded back and gotten an offensive lineman you need. This pick makes no sense to me. Absolutely none. Now, I like Kenneth Grant. As I've told you, Harbaugh and Minter thought he had the higher ceiling, higher potential over Mason Graham, but his floor is lower. He is a hot and cold player as of right now. He builds up the consistency. It may work. Now, the steal, as far as this point in the draft, Tyler Warren fell into the Indianapolis Colts' lap. And it only took him, I think, like 90 seconds for it to say pick is in. They knew the minute the Miami Dolphins selected Grant, they were drafting Tyler Warren. It was immediate. And it fits. It's a place of need. He's an amazing tight end, versatile, utility guy. He fits the Indianapolis Colts mold of what they need. Hopefully he wears 44. That's already been all over the internet on X. I think that is you can't call it a steal because he fell to them, but that is the one where you're looking at it going, they just got handed Tyler Warren. Outstanding pick for the Indianapolis Colts. The Atlanta Falcons get an edge rusher. My buddy is actually happy. We'll go over here in a few picks. Their second pick, Jalen Walker. Listen, this guy is going to bring in a 34 defense. He brings the edge. He is an edge. 6'1", 245 pounds. He is your edge. Quick first step. Really, really fast. He fits what they need on that pass rush. I love where the Falcons went with this. We'll talk about the trade here in a second. Arizona Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, defensive coordinator for the Eagles, drafts a defensive tackle. Walter Nolan, the massive human being. Great first step. You got Josh Sweat. I thought they were going to go with Barron to help the secondary. They go defensive line. This is the Philadelphia Eagles effect. This is the effect from that Super Bowl. The defensive line and offensive line were the focus of this draft, not the skill players. Because then you've got at 17, I like this pick for Cincinnati. I really do. You pair Shamar Stewart, and if you can keep Trey Hendrickson around, that is a really formidable outside edge rush. Two big defensive ends in a 4-3 defense that can get after the passer and stop the run. I actually think that's a fantastic pick for Cincinnati. When Shamar fell to them after the Falcons were able to take Jalon, I thought it was a great pick for them. And then at 18, the Seahawks go get another player from North Dakota State, Gray Zabel, the guard. Fills the need on the offensive line. Fills the need on the offensive line. Kind of solidifies what they need there. It's a safe, simple pick. Mike Macdonald knew what he was doing, and it was a smart pick. Very smart pick. Protect Sam Darnold. Help with the run game. Gray Zabel, to me, was an absolute beautiful pick. Now, the head scratcher. I don't know what the crap the Buccaneers are doing. I've heard people like, oh, this is a great fit for him. How? How? Everybody, see, this is the thing. The same people that will be like, well, it's the Raiders and the Jets. I mean, I don't know how good they're actually going to be this year. Are the same dang people that are like, Emeka Egbuka absolutely works with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've got Mike Evans and Godwin already. Jalen McMillan last year, when Chris Godwin got hurt, lit it up. They got Cade Otton at tight end. They got 2 running backs. Why in the world would you draft Emeka? It is the least need on that team. Barron would have been better. Derek Harmon, who, Pittsburgh picks in 2 picks from now, put him next to Vita Vea would have been better. This pick made absolutely no sense. There is no reason you draft Emeka Egbuka. None. I think this is one of the worst 5 picks in the first round. Hands down. And Emeka's a great slot guy. Love him as a slot. You don't need him. He does not help you win games. Because you already have 3 receivers, a tight end, and 2 running backs with your skill players that are absolutely amazing. And 2, when healthy, 2 of the top 15 receivers in the league. Like, come on. I'm sorry, Tampa, you dropped the ball. And for all those guys that are giving them a pass because it's the same guys that have the bias against the Raiders and the Jets because they can't open their eyes and go, oh, a team can change. Texans with Stroud and Anderson. Oh, they changed. Jane Daniels with the Commanders with what is still being called one of the worst rosters to ever make a conference championship game. Oh, so the Raiders and the Jets can't make really good moves and change their fortunes around just to get to 10 wins, but the Buccaneers lose their 2nd offensive coordinator in a row, or on their 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years, and you're just going to give them a shoe-in like it's going to be okay. You're stupid. No. This pick was horrible. If you didn't really have anybody you knew you could draft that would be the best, trade back. Light failed this one. But the Broncos then pick a guy that's going to be able to, I think, really work well with Patrick Surtain. Jahdae Barron from Texas is the versatile corner the Broncos needed. I know he wanted Egbuka. If Emeka's there at 20, I have no doubt Sean Payton drafts him. Barron, though, was simply the best player on the board, and in the secondary, it worked. Absolutely worked. I love the pick. Helps out Surtain. Hufanga they sign. I think this is a simple, clean pick. Nickel corner. Guy that can cover. Speed. Like I say, he's going to have to clean up his tackling, but I do like this guy. Then you've got the Steelers. Oh my gosh, the Steelers. It's a Steelers pick. I can't say anything else. It's a Steelers pick. They draft defensive tackle Derek Harmon from Oregon when they have no offensive line. Absolutely tone deaf on offense. I'm sorry. Tomlin is horrendous. I'm sorry. Tomlin is horrendous. He may be a really good player coach, but I would not hire him if he got fired now. I wouldn't. Unless I could tell him who you're bringing in as the offensive coordinator. Because his offensive coordinator signings have been lackluster, and the organization is just tone deaf offensively. This is so stupid. Donovan Jackson sitting right there. You lost James Daniels. You lost Dan Moore, and you're going to pick a defensive tackle. Give me a break. The Steelers, I'm feeling so good about my under pick right now for them. They have no quarterback. They have no running back yet. Yeah, you got two really good receivers on the edge. It's going to be 50-50 balls the whole time, and DK Metcalf gets more pass interference penalties on offense as a receiver than anybody else. So dumb. So dumb. Who's not dumb? Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh added a key piece because of Najee Harris coming in. He's only on a one-year deal. And the Chargers draft Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina. And I love this pick because it fills a need. You're going to see a lot of teams go to a two running back style. The running game is coming back in the NFL, just like the safeties are coming back in the NFL. Omarion Hampton fills a need. Najee Harris has had some injury issues. I think Najee gets 1,000 rushing yards. I think Omarion Hampton gets 750. But I think Hampton's the better receiving back, so he'll get more pass-catching opportunities in that offense. But Jim Harbaugh gets a running back, skilled player, somebody who can play alongside Herbert. It's what they needed. The Packers, they did. Gray Zabel, who I had them drafting, is off the board. And I said, why not draft a receiver because everybody's always injured? Well, by golly, George, they did. They draft Matthew Golden, wide receiver from Texas. I think potentially two guys are out on that Packers wide receiver group. We'll look out for Wicks. He's going to have to really make leaps. Watch for Reed and Dobbs and Watson. All four of those guys, if there's another injury, they're gone. Matthew Golden comes in. At least one guy, hopefully, will stay healthy. Maybe it's just Green Bay's training team for the receivers is horrible. I don't know. But hopefully he stays healthy. I like this pick. It's a simple pick, and it's what they need. The Minnesota Vikings draft Donovan Jackson, guard/tackle from Ohio State. Solidifies. The one spot they needed left was the opposite side, the left guard opposite of Will Fries. That offensive line is scary. That offensive line is scary if it stays healthy. Well done. Congratulations to the Vikings for giving J.J. McCarthy the chance to succeed, because now you've got an offensive line with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason as the running backs that are going to absolutely be able to control the game. And you still got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. I like the Vikings. I really like the Vikings. The Lions have to watch out. All right, the next trade was Houston. Honestly, at this point, there was only two options for them to draft for offensive line. That was Josh Connerly Jr. and Josh Simmons. I know a lot of teams didn't like Simmons because of the injuries, and the New York Giants offered them a trade that was just too good to pass up, honestly. So the Houston Texans give up their first-round pick, and the Texans then in return get the Giants' second-round pick, a third-round pick, and a third-round pick in 2026. Simple, straightforward. They only give up one pick. They gave up their first at 25. They move back to 34. Then they have 99, and they get a third next year. I love this move by the Texans. I believe they're going to draft Jared Mason, the center/guard from Georgia tonight. That's who I believe they're going to go with. They may go with the tackle out of Minnesota, but I believe they're going to try to solidify the interior based off of what I've seen, because they've got Trent Brown and they've got Cam Robinson as tackles on the roster right now. I think they're going to try to solidify the middle. I've got them picking Jared Mason later today, but the Giants then draft Jackson Dart. Why? Brian Daboll absolutely feels this is the guy of the quarterbacks I can coach the best. That's what he felt. And I believe Brian Daboll can coach Jackson Dart. Will this team win a lot? I don't know. Let's watch the rest of the draft. I like the Abdul Carter pick. I like the pick they just made. Joe Schoen, this is a win now. Russell Wilson start for 4 games, and then Dart comes in, kind of like Drake May with New England last year. I like where this is going. You didn't give up a ton. You didn't give up the farm. The Texans got a good deal, don't get me wrong, but you didn't give up a first to be able to get back into the first round. So I like how that played. Now, the Atlanta Falcons absolutely showed the owner wants to win now. Their trade doesn't look as bad when you actually talk it out. So the Rams trade their first round pick and one of their thirds, pick 101, to the Falcons. The Falcons give up their second, which is pick 46, and then a 7th round, which is pick 242, and a first round next year. Now, this is what I'll say about this trade. If the Falcons make the playoffs and the Rams go to the conference championship, where I believe they will, at minimum, they will have 2 picks between picks 25 and 30, the Rams. Nobody will care about that then. If the Falcons are picking in the top 10 or top 15, then the trade will look bad. But the Falcons go get James Pierce Jr., the edge from Tennessee, the 6'5", 245-pound edge rusher that fits Raheem Morris, fits a couple of the molds they've got over in the LA with the Rams. They draft Walker and Pierce Jr. If both of them stay healthy, Baker Mayfield better be ready to run and hide. Bryce Young better be ready to run and hide, and whoever the heck the quarterback is for the Saints will be under duress. This is a defensive draft for the Falcons. Now back to my buddy. Penguin loves it. They get 2 edges. He doesn't even worry about the 26 first round next year because he finally got 2 edges. They got a 3rd round pick, which they can add a defensive tackle or a linebacker, depending on who falls. Then they can add corners a little bit later. This is a good draft for Atlanta. I know there are a bunch of people absolutely mutilating Atlanta for giving up too much. If they're picking 25th next year, you won't think twice. It's because you're like, well, if they pick top 15, they're not picking top 15. Michael Penix, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and an offensive line that's stout, they're not going to be picking 15th. The defense is why they really struggled, and then Kirk Cousins just made it even worse. Let's just be honest. This is a safe pick. It's a good pick for them. They could have gone Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. They need a rush. They need a pass rush. They got it. Not going to comment too much on this one. Malachi Starks, stud safety from Georgia, goes to the Ravens. Are you shocked? No surprise there. The Detroit Lions beef up the interior defensive line with Tyleik Williams. I think that was a very smart move. At this point, there's not an edge. You beef up the middle. You had injuries on defense last year. Beefing up the middle. I have 0 issues with this pick at 28. It's a smart pick, big guy, mainly for run defense. I can easily grow into a 3-down defensive tackle. Now at 29, the Commanders, who I've heard for the last 24 hours, made it with the worst roster in the NFC last year. Well, they've added Deebo Samuel. They added Marshawn Lattimore at the trade deadline last year. They've added Laramie Tunzel, and now they got Josh Conerly Jr. So guess what you get now? You get Josh Conerly Jr. on one side. You get Laramie Tunzel on the other. You get Sam Kazi back from injury at guard. Solidify the other 2 spots of the offensive line, and the offensive line looks pretty dang good for Jaden Daniels. I'd say they're doing the right thing. Take off the glasses of trying to create a narrative. Look at what they're doing. They're protecting Jaden Daniels. You can't criticize it. Enough said. All right, the Buffalo Bills, this was another head scratcher. Will Johnson is still on the board. Siobhan Revel is still on the board. Azure Thomas, Nick Emanwori are still on the board, and they go with the 5'11", 183-pound fastest corner in the draft by far, Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. I said he was going to be a late second-round pick, and that's where most had him slotted. I'm really starting to think that Buffalo has a GM problem. I'm really starting to think the GM in Buffalo is actually the issue. How do you do that? Emanwori helps you win in a lot of different ways, being 6'3", being a utility guy that can play that nickel backer, can play the safety position, and you go with the small, fast corner. What are you doing? You've already got a slot corner. Teron Johnson's your slot. You need a legit cornerback 2. I don't get this one. I'm really starting to think Buffalo has a GM problem. The Philadelphia Eagles then end up with a linebacker, Jahad Campbell from Alabama. And the Kansas City Chiefs draft Josh Simmons, offensive lineman, offensive tackle. They needed it. Makes sense. No questions. All right. We are at time. But I want to give you some of my sleepers. So round 2 is going to start 7 o'clock tonight, and here is the top 10. So the Browns have number 1 pick and the number 4 pick in the second round. Texans are 2nd, Titans are 3rd, Raiders 5th, Patriots 6th. The Bears are 7 and 9. The Saints are at 8, and the Jets are at 10. My sleepers for today really are simply this. Shedeur Sanders, I think, could fall. I would actually say look out for potentially the Niners or the Cowboys to draft Shedeur Sanders. You may think I'm crazy. Look out for them. And then look out for running backs. I have 6 to 8 running backs coming off the board in this round, in the second round alone. And you've still got some defensive players. Will Johnson is definitely still there. Evidently, teams are really worried about that toe injury. It was turf toe. And whoever drafts him is going to get a steal. Now, I don't think it's going to be the Texans. It easily could be the Browns because they got 2 picks early on. Mike Green, the edge from Marshall. Nick Emanwori, the safety / nickel backer from South Carolina. Siobhan Revel, the corner from East Carolina. Azure Thomas, the corner from Florida State. Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU. And then you've got not as many, but you've got some offensive linemen. Most notably, I love Jared Wilson to go to the Texans. Ursiri, the offensive tackle from Minnesota. Look for him to be, I'd say, potentially a team like, even Dallas could do that too. If he falls to Dallas, would make sense. Look for Schlesinger. I think the Colts are after Schlesinger, the linebacker from UCLA. And you've got a lot of receivers that could easily go in this round as well. But I'm going to say probably 6 running backs come off the board. And when you look at who's there, Cleveland needs a running back, so I think they take one. With one of those 2 picks, I think Cleveland takes a running back. I think this is the round Chicago will take a running back, so there's 2. You could easily potentially see Seattle, who has 2 picks, 18 and 20, taking a running back, You can see the Broncos now taking a running back. Buffalo has 2 picks late in the second round. So good for them. They don't need a running back, but they do have 2 picks later on in the draft. The Bengals could easily take one. And obviously the Cowboys still need a pick as well, and there's rumors that the Jets are going to have to draft a running back because Breece Hall is unhappy. So the guys to look for to be traded today, I'm sticking with it. I think Jalen Ramsey, Goddard, Andrews, and then Breece Hall. Look for Breece Hall today, potentially to be traded. He's causing issues on social media. Aaron Glenn's not going to play around with that anymore. They're not going to put up with a bunch of that. So I think 6 running backs come off the board this round. The Patriots easily could draft a running back, and I love the running back class. So obviously it is Friday. We don't have the podcast tomorrow. Don't have it Sunday. Monday, I will be starting the draft recap podcast, going over each division. We're going to do one division, maybe 2, but let's be honest, probably won't work. So we're going to do one division each day, get the division recaps knocked out. Schedule release is now May 14th, Wednesday, May 14th. So that's going to give us more things to look forward to. NBA playoffs. The Thunder made a awesome comeback last night. What a game. What a game by the Thunder. Clippers roasted the Nuggets, and the Knicks and Pistons series is a absolute drag-out battle right now. So plenty of stuff going on in the sports world. Absolutely love it. I love the NFL draft. One of my favorite times of year. And can't wait to see what happens tonight in rounds 2 and 3. You guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend. I have got a birthday party for all 4 of my kids tomorrow. I will be busy, but I'll absolutely be watching the draft, tuning in on who does what, and we will have a full recap of every pick starting on Monday. Thank you guys so much for hanging out this week. Hope you guys had a good week. Make it the best weekend that you can. From me to you, thank you for everything that you guys do for me, for watching, for listening. And please make sure to subscribe and like the podcast. I deeply appreciate it. Have a great weekend. For Sports Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk, and I'm out. See you guys on Monday.